Got locked in now, laser focus.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Locked In.
You guys aren't like all those other saturated programs that are out there. You come with wisdom, you come with knowledge, you back and support yourselves with statistical analytics.
I'm Megan Holden. Next, I'm surprised I picked him because I'm kind of still salty.
I'm Sam Rodriguez. He plays his role perfectly. He's the best role player we've ever seen in the NBA.
And we're bringing you the latest NBA and NFL news and hottest debates. I brought up some things, so I already knew I was going to have to battle against you about this. Today, we have a very special show giving out NBA awards. It's around that time, end of the season. Surprising here, I have to agree with you, Sam. I know it's rare.
We're also having a very special guest in the show, former NBA coach, former overseas coach.
Now to Sam for the NBA Under the Radar news.
We have a total of 3 players so far tested positive for COVID. One is the one of 6 players the Brooklyn Nets have, Michael Beasley. Might need to call him the G League team, but we'll see about that.
Then we also team.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have Russell Westbrook testing positive, but he says he's going to be there no matter what. And then we also have Harrison Barnes testing positive. So that's a hit for the Kings, but it's the Kings. And then we have Victor Oladipo saying that he might be coming back after having a few practices with the team. Said that he's not that worried about injury after having a few good practices.
That's a big difference for the Pacers.
They'll sign him no matter what. If he gets hurt again, they're going to sign him no matter what. They need him. If he wants to return.
He's talking about the Heat, maybe. We'll see, though.
Yeah. They have Jimmy. I don't know how that'd work, but we'll see about that in the future. And then Lakers already down Avery Bradley, now losing Rajon Rondo for 6 to 8 weeks with a broken thumb at practice.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, but Frank Vogel's very positive that he's going to return for the end of the first round and beginning of the second round playoff.
Oh my God, give him the trophy now.
I think he'll be good no matter what. If he's not, I feel like the Lakers still have a solid chance. And then lastly, first of probably many violations have occurred at the Orlando campus. King center Richaun Holmes has left the bubble to pick up delivery food. It is now in quarantine with about 8 days left.
Dang. Is this food really that bad? Like, I know it looked like airplane food, but come on.
And there's also been a thing, multiple tips have been sent in. Shannon's
Chris
posted
Paul.
that. Oh, probably. D'Angelo Russell's probably doing that from the other side, or Nick Young.
I heard they're going to be on a song with Takashi. Let me stop. I like Chris Paul. Let me stop.
All right, and on to Megan with the Under the Radar NFL news.
All right, for NFL Under the Radar news this week. So July 15th was the deadline for franchise tag players to sign an extension. For the ones who signed an extension, you might have heard Derrick Henry signed a 4-year, $60 million deal. Chris Jones signed
more.
Yeah, I mean, he basically took the team to the playoffs. Chris Jones from Kansas City Chiefs signed a 4-year, $85 million deal. Myles Garrett from Cleveland signed a 5-year, $125 million deal.
The Browns should not be paying Myles Garrett right now. They have so many other pieces they need to be filled that they can pay for. Try hitting a man in the head with a helmet.
But some notable names that did not receive an extension. Dak Prescott, he actually turned down a $33 to $35 million deal. Interestingly enough, his brother tweeted out that this is one of the reasons why his brother is not a fan of the Cowboys. So it's going to be interesting to see the future of the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Is it a long-term thing? Was this the last year together? I would have took that contract, honestly. At $35 million.
He's an idiot. His agent's an idiot. That's all I got to say.
I forgot he hurt you. Among the other players, you got AJ Green from Cincinnati. I don't really see him staying with Cincinnati so long. He's more towards the end of the career. They're rebuilding team. You got Joe Tooney from the Patriots, Hunter Henry from the Chargers, Leonard Williams, Bud Dupree, Zach Barrett from Buccaneers, and they're also trying to figure out he wants to be tagged as a pass rusher, not linebacker, because he gets more money and he plays both positions.
Today we have a special guest, former NBA coach, former overseas coach, 15 years overseas. He has won 2 championships in the Middle East and the Asia League, and has also 7 Coach of the Year awards. Actually, he coached alongside Hall of Fame coach Jerry Salone with the Utah Jazz. We have Coach Fields. How are we doing today, Coach Fields?
You know what? Honored and humbled to be a part of your show and what you're doing. So thank you for the privilege to come be a part of this.
And so we know you have your own show. Do you want to explain a little bit about that to us?
We're very blessed that throughout my career, we formed some great relationships and have a strong network of NBA friends, front office executives, players, coaches, journalists that come on and share their insights. And I kind of give insights from a coach's perspective. You can subscribe for free on our YouTube channel, which we're just kind of building up. It's the Coach Scott Field Show, but we stream live on Facebook, and it's facebook.com/Coach SF. If you're a basketball fan or in love NBA insight and want to hear unique perspectives from a former NBA coach who worked with Steph Curry as a rookie, who coached with Jerry Sloan in the NBA, won multiple championships in FIBA, we've got an exciting show for you. So thanks for allowing me to throw in that plug.
For our viewers, you can find all that information, all the links to that in the description below. Now, Coach Scott, what made you want to go from to coaching to podcasting? What drew you in?
Megan, thanks for asking that question. My wife and we actually adopted a son 10 years ago. And at that time, I took that commitment very seriously. I didn't have any biological children of my own, and it was kind of a void in my life. I have coached at the highest levels. I'd been around the globe and have been blessed. But to meet a young man, an African-American young man from the streets of South Central LA who was moved to Salt Lake City, where I now reside, I just took that responsibility very seriously, and I wanted to pour everything into him. Our bond was basketball, and to kind of scratch that itch, because I missed coaching so much as I was there to be hopefully a positive role model and father figure to our son. We started our show, and with the COVID that came on, we just upped the frequency of it, and then we just received so much positive feedback from our guests that it just kind of took on a life of its own. And so now I'm just able to be in that space, as you guys are doing a wonderful job that you guys do, and allow these professionals to come and share their insights and share their stories, and hopefully provide and empower viewers to put tools in their toolbox, so no matter what walk of life they're in, they can, be successful themselves at no matter what they choose to do. So that's kind of how the show started. I enjoy it. It's kind of a therapy for me to connect with my friends, especially during this COVID time where, we've had to self-quarantine and stay at home. So for me to, have friends and have that dialogue and have those conversations, it's been very rewarding. So I feel fortunate to have that platform to allow those stories to be shared.
Every week we ask a guest and our viewers a trivia question. This week, what's our trivia question, Sam?
Bring it on, Sam. Let's go.
Since you were a coach, we're going to have an NBA coach trivia question this week.
Okay.
So,
now, I hope I don't get it wrong.
No
so
pressure.
our question is, which NBA coach has the most championships won in his career?
It's Phil Jackson, baby.
Oh, yeah, that was easy.
That was very easy.
Well, I was blessed that I was able to be around Phil Jackson and members of his coaching staff. Jim Clemens was a guest on my show. I was very close friends to the late, great Hall of Fame coach, Tex Winter, who was on his staff, who innovated and created the triangle offense that they utilized and won the championships in Chicago, and came with Phil out to LA. One for every finger and for the toes. You're doing some winning there.
Not talking about awards and trophies. First, our topic of the day, our debate of today is, let's predict the NBA awards. Because, this is the end of the season. Regular season coming up. You can kind of say these next 8 games are just kind of like a warm up. So you can kind of say It's already the end of the NBA regular season. So let's go down the list and predict who's going to win the NBA awards for the 2019-2020 season.
Let's do it, Megan. Let's do it.
First, we got MVP. So
Ooh.
I already know who Sam has in his head. So Sam, I know you just let it out. Who do you have for MVP?
All right. This man should win every year.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to go with LeBron James.
You already said he was a Laker fan. You knew that was coming.
Yeah, I already knew. He's been talking about it all year.
We're talking about most valuable player. He's the most valuable player to his team and every team he plays for. You gotta look at it that way. He's just an all-around player. He can pass the ball. He can shoot the ball. His IQ is out the roof. He's probably one of the best point guards in the league right now. Shoot guard, small forward, power forward, and center. He can play all five. He's a great defender. I see your face, Megan. He's a great defender. Too.
I'm ready.
Yes, you can fight for Giannis, but you got to think Giannis is
spoiler alert.
You can fight for him, but LeBron's just levels above everyone in the NBA when it comes IQ-wise and such. We overshadow his greatness due to we see it every year. So it's nothing new to us. But in reality, he should be getting this award basically every year because he carries his team most of the time.
If I couldn't win as a kid a PAO top female champion 2 times in a row, he can't win it every year, okay? It has to be spread around. But no, seriously, if we're talking about who's most deserving of NBA MVP this year, and he already spoiled my big surprise, it's Giannis. So let's go. Now, we talked about this before. You said on a previous show that this is LeBron James, one of his best years statistic-wise, correct?
Yeah.
Giannis is in top of the league in almost everything. Defensive-wise, offensive-wise, points, defensive rating. So you can still say that's LeBron James, one of his best stats. But with that being said, Giannis still has better stats this season. On top of it, he's carrying more of his team. Now you talk about valuable player. They still have Davis. Who does Milwaukee have? Like, are we really gonna compare Davis to Chris Middleton? They're the top of the league. Now, some people are gonna say, oh, they have a great coach and stuff. The coach, he had a great year. I think it was in 2014 with the Atlanta Hawks. But besides that, he was a 500 year coach about every year before he joined up with Giannis last year. So he's really carrying most of his team. And people talk about the record. Yes, they won games without him, but that was against below 500 teams. When they're 0-2 against playoff type teams when he's out. I brought up some things, so I already knew I was gonna have to battle against you about this. So yeah, Giannis, 29.6 points, 30 minutes a game. He's ranked 3rd there. He's top of the league for defensive rating and defensive win shares. He has a 54.7 field goal percentage. Rebounds, 13.7. He's averaging a double-double. And he gets 5.8 assists. I know it's not LeBron, but he's not the point guard. He's not bringing it up. So he's not only he's the top player on both sides of the game, and he's also carried his team to be number 1 in the whole league. So if that doesn't qualify MVP, I don't really know what does.
Great points brought up by both of you. Nice statistical data to back up both points. I'm going to go from a coach's lens. I'm not going to break down stats like you guys did. I'm going to talk about what a coach sees through a coach's lens. Megan, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think it's Giannis's year. Now, Sam, you are right. LeBron James, statistically, every year is there. And it's almost like he's so consistent that we take that greatness for granted. I agree with that. Yeah. He has surrounded himself with players because, he's actively involved with the front office to help put the pieces around him. AD is having a phenomenal year and is probably a defensive player of the year candidate, which is a big help, but also helps him offensively to get buckets. But Megan is right. Giannis, with what he's done and how he's grown his game, he's more comfortable at the mid-range game now. He's now added the three-point game into his repertoire. He can defend great because with his length and versatility to guard multiple positions and switch off and come, defense and protect the rim. But yet he's also an outstanding rebounder who can rebound and start the break and also finish on that break because his length, he can do so many things. His team does have the best record in the league going into the COVID break, which was March 11th. So for me, if you base it on the body of work that has presented up to this point, you got to go with Giannis. Sam, I know that breaks your heart. I know you love LA. And LA has something else that they're going to have to go against with those Clippers, with their bench and their depth of that bench and the way they defend. That defense and heart travels going into the NBA Finals. So I'm sure that may be a question that comes up later, but I'm just giving you a little appetizer. Right now, I'm going with Giannis. The Greek Freak is my MVP, you guys.
Smart man. All right.
Don't tell people that though, because it would ruin my reputation.
Yeah.
Now next, now figure out that defensive player of the year.
We already talked about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a phenomenal defender. And if you look at the stats that are out there right now, you would have to say Anthony Davis. You'd have to also look at Giannis, who we've just mentioned in the MVP bout, because he's having a phenomenal defensive year. Rudy Gobert right here in Salt Lake City does a nice job, but most teams are smart enough now in the playoffs that they're going to pull him away from the basket and make him guard a smaller offensive player laterally out on the perimeter. So that's going to hurt them a little bit. And then you also have Patrick Beverley, who has to be in that discussion. But right now, Sam, I got to show you some love. I think Anthony Davis, the unibrow, could be your defensive player of the year as of right now with the body of work that he's presented.
Talking about unibrow, do you want to connect to that point, Sam? Sorry, no, it's
Great
gonna be your guy.
segue. Great segue. I like it.
Of course I want to connect to that.
Go ahead.
Of course. Anthony Davis is he's a freak of nature, honestly. He's a freak of nature. His wingspan's ridiculous. He's a top shot blocker in the league. Giannis, like Coach Scott said, phenomenal defensive player, lengthy as well, steals, blocks, rebounds. Rudy Gobert, same thing. They're kind of like pushing him out, so he can't really do as much damage as he would. Pat Beverley, he's more of a pest than a defensive player, but that works. It works. That's what he gets under your skin. But Anthony Davis right now is defensive player of the year, in my opinion.
I have to, address myself and fellow Celtics fans. I'm not picking the Marcus Smart. Now, Marcus Smart I feel like he's an overlooked defender. He's a great defender. But I'm bringing it back to stats again. So, talking about stats, I have to go. Now I like to spread love, but I have to go with what's out there. I can't ignore this. Giannis, defensive rating, #1. Usage, you got defensive win share, #1. Davis, #7 for defensive rating. And then Davis also allows more points in the paint than Giannis. And then defense, if you look at a team standpoint, Milwaukee's #1 team defense. So I got to give it to Giannis. If you're talking about most impact and you're looking at the stats, he's just up there. He's #1 everything, so I can't really, besides obviously block, stock, and steals, Davis does have the edge. But besides that, Giannis beats him out in everything, so I have to give it to Giannis.
Great research, Megan, because that's why I also feel he'll be MVP, but I'm not sure. Now, I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before in my life, but I don't know if the NBA would give him both awards, and if they had to choose between the two awards, I think they're going to lean towards the MVP with the success that the Bucks have had. But yes, phenomenal defender, because it could go either way. I just don't know if they would give him both awards. And if they did, I'm not saying it would be unprecedented, because you got to look at Bill Russell back in the day, Wilt Chamberlain back in the day, to have both awards. But I had a feeling they got to give LA a little bit of love there. And I can see Anthony Davis kind of anchoring that and possibly winning that award.
Now, talking about young players, Rookie of the Year. I would say the COVID-19 out of all the awards probably impacted this award the most. Zion had a shortened season, and it just got shorter, and we didn't really get to see the rookie wall, how it impacted them. Zion is amazing, yes, but I don't feel comfortable giving Rookie of the Year a guy who only played 19 games and only had 15 great starts, So I got to give it to Ja. Now, Memphis is not an amazing team, but they are better than they are previously. They are a 500 team now. He's averaging 17.6 points per game, 6.9 assists, and he comes through in big moments. He's athletic. He's very skilled. Now, people talk about, Zion come in, the Pelicans, they're going back into it. They're actually 10-9 with Zion back in. Memphis is about 500 on a team, so you can say they packed the team about the same amount, but because of the durability and because of the longer season, I got to give it to Ja.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Ja Morant, he's one of the most skilled guards we've seen come out of the draft in a couple of years. Zion, if he would have played the full season at the level he's doing it right now, he would have been Rookie of the Year, undoubtedly. He's a force to deal with, honestly. But Ja is just, his skill is levels above other point guards in the NBA right now. And he's only 19, 20. He's just going to keep getting better. And he carried that Grizzlies team, honestly, on his back with the help of Brandon Clark, who was a sleeper pick they drafted.
And as someone who had the Celtics had the Memphis pick, I'm surprised I picked them because I'm kind of still salty. But I had to. I mean, there's no other rookie really standing out like that right now. I will say this though, people already called him a superstar. I don't think he's a superstar. I think he has great potential, but he's rookie year right now. I wouldn't call him a superstar. Maybe potentially in the future, but right now, let's be real, 17 points. So he's above average player right now.
Yeah.
Great rookie. I'm grateful rookie year.
Well, I feel like I'm listening to Megan, the general manager. I mean, wow, she's breaking it down for us. I think you're both correct. With the body of work that has been presented to us, if Zion did not have the injury and they did not have him on a minutes restriction, he's been able to showcase flashes of what his longevity will show if he can stay healthy. Now, he's lost tremendous amount of weight. I feel like the NBA would love to see Zion have the opportunity to get into the playoffs and make a playoff run to make a better case for him for Rookie of the Year. But you got to go with Ja right now with the body of work that he's presented. They're in 8th place right now. To people who didn't follow the NBA or didn't know who Murray State was or know much about Ja, hey, they were in South Carolina and grew up together, but yet all the notoriety was with Zion because of his social media presence with basketball life and the dunks, and it just dazzled everybody. And we live in such a microwave society right now that everybody watches YouTube and sees Instagram and they just like, wow. So they love the 20-second clips. It is flashy. It is something we haven't seen in, a once-in-a-generation kind of player like a Charles Barkley was back in the day, before your time. But to me, right now, with the body of work that has been presented, you got to go with Ja Morant because he does currently, prior to COVID, as our general manager Megan said, his body of work is better right now. But it is going to be interesting to see what happens when the league starts back up and they get to go face-to-face a couple times to see who's going to get that 8th playoff spot.
Like you said with Zion, we don't know how he is lasting a whole season. I don't know if his body's going to be able to handle throughout the whole season the way he plays, such physical nature, if he will be able to handle. We saw he got injured in the summer league.
Let me throw this little nugget out there. I also think that too, with these young guys, and you look at his body, his frame, that's a lot of pounding and jumping that he's had to do. And that AAU schedule that he played before he ever got to Duke, they don't have a lot of recovery time. And as those bones are growing, that growth plate hasn't even closed, but yet we see more and more injuries from young players. Look at how many rookies have come in and have had to sit out because of injuries, because of this AAU fractured structure that we currently have.
Now, before I go to the next one, can we talk about maybe later about that GM thing with some of your basketball friends?
hey, you're supporting your stuff with statistical analytics, and everybody loves analytics right now.
No, let's talk about analytics. Most improved player for this season. There's a couple of candidates, so I'm interested to see who you guys got. Sam, do you want to start off?
I do want to start off, and I'm going to have to go with Brandon Ingram. He gets traded over to the Pelicans, basically probably thinking in his head, all right, they don't want me. Time to show off. He was a great player in college. He came in, he really didn't have much time to shine because being a Laker, even if you're on a losing team, you're still a Laker. You're held to such higher standards that you have to succeed at, no matter what, honestly. And now that he's with the Pelicans, we see he's averaging the most he's ever averaged. He's hitting clutch shots that I've never seen him do. He's going into his potential. I just think he's on that Pelicans team. They're going to be up and coming. They're going to be up and coming within next year, year after that. Give him a couple years to mesh. He's going to get the big deal he deserves too as well. Out of all the players, you got like Luka and stuff, but Luka did these things his first year at the Mavericks. He's basically doing the same thing, just continues. That's not what most improved player is. Brandon Ingram's actually stepping into that star role that the Pelicans need.
I am happy you said that. It's not what the most improved player is. This is exactly what I'm about to bring up as my point, why I think this guy's over Brandon Ingram. Bam. I have a hard time pronouncing his name, so bear with me here. Adebayo, yes.
Bam Adebayo.
Okay. Most of the average NBA fans probably didn't know who this man was last year. Coming in this year, now he was still a great defender last year. Coming in this year, he not only became a better defender, but he also now is an offensive force. Now, Brandon Ingram last season was not having as a great season as this year, correct? But he still was pretty good. People knew who Brandon Ingram was. Bam, 8 points averaging last season to 16 points this season. He doubled assists, and he was an all-star this year. He went from being a role player to an all-star. So, I mean, right there, I think just the most improved play. Like, we didn't even know what this man was last year. Now all of a sudden, he's a big piece into Miami's maybe going to the playoffs, maybe contending.
GM Megan comes in with some heat, but Sam sounds like a player personnel director because how he describes Brandon Ingram. I like it, but I think I'm going to trump both of those. And the reason I say that is I like what Pascal Siakam has done with the absence of Kawhi Leonard. Coach Nick Nurse has done a phenomenal job. I got to coach against Coach Nick Nurse overseas prior to him getting his break. I love what Nick Nurse has done, but Pascal Siakam, in the absence of Kawhi Leonard, most people wrote off the Toronto Raptors this year, and yet look where they're at in the East. They're right behind the Milwaukee Bucks, and Pascal Siakam has been able to flourish, and it increased his roles and responsibilities for that team, and they kind of gave him the keys to the franchise, and he has not disappointed. We're talking about a former G League player who has grown and developed and fits a certain style and philosophy that Nick Nurse has put out there, but Pascal Siakam, to me, would have to be the most improved player, and again, seeing what he did last year going into winning the NBA championship with Kawhi Leonard leaving, Pascal Siakam has put himself right there in the driver's seat for consideration to be improved and improved again.
Who's going to be a sixth man of the year?
Again, look right there in Sam's backyard, LA. You got the Clippers. Now, whether you want scoring coming off the bench, you've got Lou Williams. The man is a bucket. He is a walking bucket. He can get you points. But then if a big gets in foul trouble right away, you can bring in a high energy guy like a Montrez, and he brings you energy. He brings you defense. He gives you a finisher. But yet just that motor that he has is phenomenal. So either of those two guys I see putting themselves right in position to be sixth man of the year, but because of his longevity and body of work, I've got to give a slight edge to Lou because, man, he comes in and he's going to fill it up and get you points right away.
Are we not tired of having Lou as sixth man of the year?
Hey, but that's what he does, and he's a star in his role. So, you got to continue to give it to a man who's continued to do it year after year because he's embraced it. He would be a franchise player for other teams, but he accepts that role as a sixth man, and the way that he does it, with the flair that he does it, you got to look at it again.
Exactly.
I respect the Lou debate, but I got to go with Dennis Schroeder. I have to. I know he put one of, not his best, but probably one of his best seasons up. He got 19 points, averaged 19 points a game, 46.8 field goal percentage, 3.7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Now, I think he's also part of that triple threat guard that's been helping the Under get back into the playoffs. And I feel like he's just a big piece of that team. Without him, I'm not sure if they'll be in that playoff potential where they are right now.
But the Clippers are in second place in the West. Just want to throw that out there.
That's true, but I would say, unlike Lou, Dennis is a two-way player. He's a great defender, and he like I said, he's putting up 19 points a game.
Great point.
I'm gonna have to agree with Coach Scott here. He plays his role perfectly. He's the best role player we've ever seen in the NBA. Honestly, he's the best role player. Sixth man of the year, he's fine. He doesn't want to be a starter. He doesn't care about all that. He just does his job to get the wins. He comes off the bench. He can give you 30 if you need it. He can give you 10 if you need it. He's a pure shooter. He's consistent when he's on. I just think he deserves to win for maybe like the 17th year in a row, 18th year in a row.
Last one now, Coach of the Year.
I'm going to go with Billy Donovan with the Thunder.
That's what I was going to even took my okay, go ahead.
Because listen, you just lose Russell Westbrook. You traded Russell Westbrook away for an older Chris Paul. And you're expected, when they traded for Chris Paul, everyone expected it. All right, they're going to flip Chris Paul to someone else again. Maybe get some draft picks such. He decides to keep him. And look what they're at now. People didn't expect them to make it where they are right now. They expected, all right, they're going to get a lottery pick. They're not going to make it far. They're proving everyone wrong, really.
Surprising, yeah, I have to agree with you, Sam. I know it's rare, but when I say I mean, come in you can say a full roster haul. He lost 2 All-Stars, 2, Westbrook and George. He got, an aging Chris Paul when people had a lot of question marks about like him. Is he going to be the same? He turned him back around. And he also got Alexander from Clippers, who people were like, he showed potential his rookie year. Is he still going to hold up? And I feel like he's getting the best out of his players. They're number 6 in the West. They're 49-3. They're middle of the pack both offensively and defensively. But it seems like he gets the best out of his players. They have great team chemistry.
I think the points that you bring up are valid and arguable. I think there's 3 guys that have. First of all, Frank Vogel's not getting enough credit that he deserves with the job that he's done with LA. But everybody says, well, he's got AD and he's got future Hall of Famer LeBron James there. I also think Billy Donovan is a great candidate and is worth to have the discussion. I think Eric Spoelstra down with the Miami Heat has also done a great job with his roster and maximizing the most from the talent that they have. But again, I kind of go, and I know people will think I'm biased because I coached against him and we're friends, but Nick Nurse, with what he's done with Toronto to have them in the number 2 seed right now, with a roster that no one expected them to even be in the playoffs and probably fighting for like a 9, 8, or 7 seed in the East prior to the season starting because Kawhi Leonard left. Everybody was just like, oh my goodness. But yet you look at Pascal Siakam, how he's grown and developed, how Nick has given him the keys to the franchise, and he has not disappointed being a former G League player. You got basically Van Fleet, and you got Kyle Lowry, who, a lot of people don't consider even being a top NBA point guard. And with the roster that they have and how they maximize and put the right pieces together, he has them already bought in and believing with their game adjustments, the special sideline out of bounds plays, special situations of the way that he, controls a game and manages a game as a coach. I got to go with Nick Nurse once again, being coach of the year because, they're number 2 in the East right now. So you've got to give that a lot of credit, but I still think a lot of it will be depending on how the journalists see how the season finishes out once we return from the COVID break.
Our last prediction here. Finals. NBA Finals. Who do you guys have? I'm already saying go ahead. Go pick your Lakers.
I'll have to stick with the Lakers. The injury with Rondo, that does hurt a little bit, but Frank Vogel's very sure that he's going to come back late first round, beginning of second round. But you got to think about this. You've had people like Alex Caruso stepping up when no one thought he was going to step up. You still have Danny Green. You have LeBron that can run the point if you need him. I think you just gave the greatest player in the NBA right now 3 months rest. 3 months rest. He's going to come back fresh, healthy. AD is going to come back fresh, healthy. We know he's always dealing with injuries most of the time, weeks, months. Add them two fully together. They're the best duo in the NBA. I'd have them beating the Bucks in 6 games.
Oh, that's a take right there.
Real quick. Before COVID happened, the last 3 wins they had were against the Celtics, the 76ers. It was the 76ers, Clippers, and Bucks, back to back to back. And then it went to COVID. That's just a preview. He just gave them 3 months rest. Just be ready. That's all I got to say.
This is why that take kind of goes down the drain, because that's momentum. And now you have this long break and momentum's dead. Not saying Lakers is not one of the best teams in the league. They are. And LeBron getting more rest is a great argument for it. But so is everybody else. So I gotta also say, Clippers and Lakers, it was kind of already neck to neck, and people already were giving a favor to the Clippers because they were a deeper team. Now the Lakers are less deep. I feel like the Clippers, will probably win over them. But I have the Clippers losing to the Bucks in 7 because even though Clippers have a better roster, I think the Bucks are a better team. I think they have better chemistry. Clippers, with Kawhi going in and out, Paul George going in and out, they had chemistry issues throughout the season. And I just feel like the Bucks have been consistently good with good teams and bad teams, something that not all the teams going to the playoffs have been throughout the year. And the Bucks also are 2-0 against the Clippers. So I gotta go with Bucks over the Clippers in 7.
So I'm gonna start off in the West because I think that's where a lot of people think that's probably where the champion will come from. Now, I'm not saying I believe that, and I'm gonna throw out some nuggets here for you to chew on. I do think it'll be between the Clippers and the Lakers. with the same points that you've made, but I want to expand on those points that you made with your LA Lakers. I think LeBron will have to exert a lot of energy, not so much in the early games before they get into the playoffs. And again, we need to decide, are they going to go 1 through 16 or is it going to be East versus West? I think that's still going to be depend on does Zion get into the top 8 and make it even better. So again, I think the NBA is going to take it day by day and see which structure is going to draw the most fan interaction and viewership. But I like what the Clippers do. And the reason I like what the Clippers do to have an answer, because I feel like LeBron in the second and the third round of the Western Conference Finals will have to exert a lot of that energy. And with that being said, yes, they've had 3 months to take a break, but young legs right now, to me, seem to have an advantage. And if you got bench depth where you can put multiple people on a LeBron to kind of wear him down and make him exert that energy, I think that's going to have to be the biggest thing that LeBron will have to overcome. If they win that finals, how much gas will he have to go against whoever's going to win in the East? Now, I think the Milwaukee Bucks have put themselves in a great position, but yet, do they have the right pieces? Is Chris Middleton going to be enough to step up and do it? Is it Connaughton going to be enough? Who's going to be that other third scorer that's going to step up and help them when, they're going to face multiple defense and they're going to have to make game time adjustments? That's going to be interesting. But yet, look at the youthful legs that the 76ers have. Look at the youthful legs that the Boston Celtics have, because they never quite put it together. But yet, the 76ers have the most questions going into it. And are you going to put Ben Simmons at a power forward and not make him be the point forward that they've been? Because then Embiid's not getting the quality touches that he needs with his back to the basket. So there's a lot of things, a lot of storylines that are going to kind of play out throughout this playoff process. But I kind of see the Clippers winning in 6 in the NBA Finals versus the Milwaukee Bucks.
I thought you were going to go a different route there, because you mentioned the 76ers, you mentioned the Celtics. I got to say, the 76ers seems like they don't have it all the way together, and the Celtics, they get banged up easily. Kemba Harry has soreness in his knees, and they don't really have much of a bench.
And Gordon Hayward's not going to be there because his wife's going to be giving birth.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So there's all those storylines and intangibles that you don't control as a coach. And then who knows if some of these players are going to contract the COVID and then have to be quarantined and sit out and then miss 14 days.
Talking about transferring from NBA awards and prediction to Coach Scott, you had an amazing career as a coach, both in the NBA and overseas. Now, I want to transition to asking you some questions about your time as a coach.
I've been thinking of, while we've been recording this, I've been thinking of all the teams you've coached and the players that have been on those teams. Who is your favorite player to coach, if you have one?
And it's like being a parent. You can't really say you have a favorite child because as a coach, you work with the players where they're at. It's a great question, Sam. And I get that a lot of time. Yeah. Now, did I coach Steph Curry when he was just a rookie? And did I see that he was going to have greatness? 100%. But if you also look at my resume, you'll see where I coached a Carlos Arroyo when he was only 17 years old before he ever went into college and before he ever had a chance to get into the NBA. Players like Fadi Khatib out in Beirut, Lebanon, where they were in the top 16 in the world at the World Championships, and to me was arguably probably one of the best players in all of Asia. Even though Yao Ming was the #1 draft pick of the Houston Rockets, I look at a Fadi Khatib because I actually brought him over to the NBA Summer League. Both the Lakers and the Clippers both loved him. The Clippers wanted to offer him a contract, but the owner of his club over in Lebanon did not release him. But yet, if he would have came over to the NBA, you would have seen how special he truly is. So I've worked with big name players. I've worked with players that were just very, very good players for their national teams that represented their country, whether it was in the Olympics or the World Championships. So it's very, very hard for me to sit here and just pinpoint one specific player. But how can you argue, an NBA an NBA MVP like Steph Curry, because I got to work with him twice, as a rookie with Golden State, and then also at an NBA charity event here in Salt Lake City where I got to work with him again. And you see how he transformed the game. So an obvious pick because of the name and how he transformed the game, you'd have to put Steph Curry right up there.
We do have a lot of college students watching our show, and a lot of them are interested in sports and interested again in the sports field. What does it take to be an NBA, to be a coach in general, sports coach on a professional level?
For me, it's about the education. I've got a degree in psychology, and I knew my degree was a means to an end because I couldn't coach college basketball without that degree. So, I would have to say, stay focused. I would say network. I would say hone your skills, hone your craft. I would say network. And, notice the word network. I mean, you got to work. You got to let people know of your aspirations. You got to let people know of your desires. And then you have to make sure that you have your own personality as a coach. You can't do it like somebody else. You have to do it your way with your personality, with your energy, and create that philosophy and bring players in that fit your philosophy, that play a certain style or a certain system. And if you're able to do that, hey, get your degree, network hard, and be visible. Get out there, work with as many players, work with as many coaches, learn from as many great coaches who have had success, pick their brains, be like a Kobe Bryant whose book is over my shoulder. Have that Mamba mentality, have laser-like focus, block out the white noise and all the naysayers who say you can't do it. If you want to do it and you want to be successful, you will make the sacrifices in order to put yourself in a situation to be successful. So make sacrifices, take risks, and don't be afraid, and know that you're going to hear a lot of no's before you get one yes.
You brought up an interesting point that grabbed my attention. You major in psychology. So I'm kind of interested in what was your role? Like, how did you become a coach in the NBA and in overseas?
I was blessed that as a high school player in the state of Indiana, which plays great basketball, I was a Hall of Famer at my high school. And I went off and was playing college basketball. I actually I had to take an oral polio vaccine to accept my scholarship. And when I took that vaccine, it caused my immune system to go awry. And I went from being a Hall of Fame player to being bedfast for 9 months of my life. Luckily for me, the coach that I played for knew of my aspirations that I wanted to get into coaching, and he allowed me to come in at the age of 19, being a Hall of Fame player who could no longer play, that I wanted to give back to the game. And that coach providing me that opportunity to let me come in and work with players that were my age and older. I had to grow up quickly. I had to accept responsibility. I had to hold them accountable, which was not always easy because we lived in the same dorm room. But yet I knew what I wanted to do with my career. I knew I wanted to be a coach, and I wanted to kind of be a person that gave back to the game that was so good to me. So for me, I started off my career very, very early because of the rheumatoid arthritis and being crippled for 9 months and being bedfast. And then as I was getting my health back, I continued to pick the brains of great coaches like I just mentioned to you. And I traveled the country and I volunteered and worked a lot of camps and continued to be around great coaches that had great success around the nation. And then at the age of 26, I took my very first professional head coaching job, and I was one of the youngest head coaches in America before I went overseas. And then we got overseas, we created and carved a niche for ourselves because we had great success with all of the clubs that we coached, because in 15 years as a FIBA coach, we had a 780 win percentage and we won multiple championships because of the work ethic. And I refused to let any other coach, no matter who they were or where they were at, I never allowed anybody to outwork me, and I wanted to lead by example. So I wanted those players to see the energy, and I wanted to inflict my will on those players. So to me, it was all about work ethic and focus and being driven to make those players the best that they could possibly be and draw something out of them that they didn't even know that they had within them. And psychology was used from my degree as a part of that.
One final question from me for you. If you could coach in any era, what would it be? And do you have a specific team it would be?
Great question, Sam. I like that. I think the game is in great hands right now. I would love to coach a team that has not had success. and build that franchise and build those players and develop those players and exceed everybody's expectations. I think to me, that's more of a challenge. And I love a challenge. I love when people say you can't do something, because I kind of have the mindset, I'm going to work my butt off to prove you wrong. So for me, I would love to coach in the league right now with how the game is played. It's space, it's pace, it's action, it's entertaining. It's fun for the players to play, and it's entertaining for the fans to watch. So to be able to play a game of chess and strategize and put these players in a position to be successful right now when they've never had success before, that's something that truly intrigues me.
What team would you pick up today? You got to pick one.
I look at the teams now. I think the New York Knicks would be extremely hard, because I feel like there's not enough synergy between the ownership and the front office and the coaches, because they've gone through so many coaches right now. You look at somebody like the Phoenix Suns that haven't had success in many years. I think that would be a fun team. I look at the youth and the way that the Sacramento Kings are building their franchise right now. I think that'd be fun. Or rebuild that Chicago Bulls franchise that has struggled ever since Phil Jackson left that team, because I feel like that's a community who is starving to have that success come back.
I have just a couple more questions. I'm interested in knowing how is different is the NBA from coaching overseas?
Great question. That comes to me a lot. The NBA is far more athletic. It's far more played above the rim. The speed, the athleticism, that's one style of play. In Europe, it's completely different. The players, to me, are much more fundamentally sound. They may not be as athletic, but it's a finesse game, and it's a very cerebral game. So to me, that kind of intrigues me. The work ethic, there's not as much entitlement. It's not about the endorsement deal. It's more about the passion of the game. So to me, that's the polarizing difference between the NBA and the international game, is the work ethic and the lack of entitlement and the pure passion and love of the game that is played over in the European levels.
When you think of your coach career, what's the first highlight that pops up to you?
It would probably have to be, and this will surprise a lot of people, but I coached for 3 years in Beirut, Lebanon, and I absolutely loved it. I grew up in the state of Indiana, where basketball is like the sport. I mean, if you're great at basketball, you're kind of treated as a god, and it's almost like a religion. Lebanon was the same way while I was there. We played in a facility with my pro team that would kind of remind you of Cameron Indoor at Duke, because the way that was set up for the fans, it was first come, first served, kind of like a general admissions kind of thing. So, 5,500 fans rushing in and packing that place was phenomenal. But yet we're 3,000, 4,000 fans outside the arena watching on the big screen. And to have success there in that environment where they truly love their basketball and winning a championship there in Beirut, Lebanon. And let me expand on that. It was so fun because basketball was so loved, and it was the number one sport, where in most international countries, soccer is the number one sport. But basketball was so big there because the local players were so talented. As I mentioned before, they were in the top 16 in the world at the World Championships. So when you put sport, which the first year that I went there, I took over for a club, and here's the interesting part. The team that I coached was Muslim-based. The team that was in the finals and who had won the championship for 7 years in a row was Christian-based. So you had sports, you had religion, but yet you also had politics, because the main supporter of our team was the prime minister of the country, but the main supporter of the Christian-based team was the president of the country. So when you mix sports, politics, and religion, you talk about an intense environment. There were actually Marines or Army in berets with Uzis that was surrounding the court, which was our security. And for us to win that championship that first year with all those things kind of intertwined, and to take a team who had beat a 7-time reigning champion, that was a pretty special moment, because when we won that championship, they picked me up and our players on the fans' shoulders and carried us for like 2 or 3 hours throughout Beirut and throughout downtown. And to me, that's something special that I will never forget. And I loved those fans, and I loved the passion of those fans in that country just for that reason.
I want to thank you, Coach Scott Fields, to coming on our show. We really appreciate it. Also, for those viewers, you can find Coach Scott Fields' social media information in the description below, and you can also find Coach Fields' podcast in the link below. Make sure you check it out. It's a great podcast.
It's really been an honor to be here with you, to see what you're doing with this show. I'm glad and honored and humbled to be a part of this. And, if you ever need me to come back, I'd love to come back on, because, again, I think you guys are doing an outstanding job. You guys aren't like all those other saturated programs that are out there. You come with wisdom. You come with knowledge. You back and support yourselves with statistical analytics. So continue the great work, you guys.
And we'll see you next week. You guys stay safe and be careful out there.
Again, support these guys. They're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.